for a lifeline, I thought I'd give the floor to you because you've been doing a lot of traveling lately, and we were texting in prep for the show, and you have some thoughts on airport etiquette that have been going on. I'll give you the floor for that.
Man, okay. We need to have a chat, and you don't travel a ton, so I'm gonna bounce these off of you.
I don't.
And I need you to tell me, like, if this is insane to you.
Hit me. Let's go.
Okay. You show up at the airport. To check in, there's economy, there's priority, which is like if you're flying business class, and then there's super elite, which is like if you're flying so often that you hit a part of the points where it's like, all right, you're getting the red carpet type situation. If the line is too long for economy, are you automatically allowed to go into the super elite line?
No.
Is that how that works? I don't think so. Do you get to throw a tantrum because you showed up late for your flight and there's a line?
I would say no. Okay. I would hazard a guess and say no.
So, perfect. Glad we got there. Now we're in the security line, right? You got to go through security, get on an airplane. This is not news. Breaking news. You have to do this. Do you get to take up all the stations for yourself, or do you go to one and you put all your stuff in one and push it through?
I run between 3 security lines, putting one item in each bin. I go, but, you know, that's what I do. Spray.
Okay. Mm-hmm. If you have a child, do you
already I'm against this person. Okay. Continue.
If you have a child, do you automatically get to go to the front of the line?
No, it's not my fault that you had sex. I never consented to you having sex.
I did not sign up for this. Right? All right. Here we go. Now we're boarding the airplane. And this one drives me insane.
Tell me this isn't all the same person, by the way.
No, we're talking about various people I have seen over my travels.
Okay,
all right. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, there's an announcement. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to begin boarding. If you have pre-printed on your ticket where it says zone, you may now board. Somebody in zone 5 stands up and gets in line. Okay, just so we're clear, there's pre-boarding. Then there is zone 1 and 2, zone 1. Then there's zone 2. Then there's people who have children who need a little bit of extra time, wheelchair, XYZ. Then there's zone 3, 4, and 5. They haven't called zone 1 yet, which means they have not called first class passengers yet. If you stand up and line up, as far as I'm concerned, they should be able to tell you that you are now the last person to board the plane.
Like, you should be shot.
You're literally at the back. You're done. Here's what I figured out, though. So airlines, I don't know what they're doing, but because they've lost so much luggage, people have started carrying on. There's not enough room in the aircraft for every single person to have a carry-on, right? But people, if you buy a basic fare, you're zone 5 because you paid the least amount of money, you don't have any points or whatever. So you board the plane last.
Yeah.
Right? That's how this works. So you don't get to throw a temper tantrum because zone 3 and 4 get to board and their carry-on gets on and yours doesn't. If you want your carry-on to get on, maybe buy a different fare so that you're not in zone 5. I don't know. But trying to board when they've called like zone 3 and you're zone 5, to me, immediately I would be like, you are now the last person to board the plane. All of you, last person to board the plane. Like, I don't get it. But then the best part about it is they'll line up and they'll go and they'll be like, it's zone 3, we're zone 5. They'll get up to the front and the stewardess will be like, I'm sorry, we have not called zone 5 yet. You need to step to the side. They don't tell them to like leave or do, far more polite about it than I would be. Mm-hmm. And they start throwing a temper tantrum. They're like, well, I'm already here. And it's like, well, you shouldn't be. You literally shouldn't be. So then there's that. Then we get to being on the airplane. Okay? And this is where it gets wild. If you have a child, children are allowed to cry. That's what they do.
Yeah.
Like, especially when they're young. And you can't, like, Is it annoying? Yeah, it's absolutely annoying. But if the kid can't communicate, like we're talking about less than 4 or 5 years old, right? You can't really communicate. I totally get it. If you have an 8-year-old that's having a temper tantrum, that is a completely different story. Get your kid under control. The second thing is, as a parent, you have a responsibility to make sure that your child is not kicking the seat or whacking the seat in front of them back and forth to the person in front of them. Control your kid. Just because you're on an airplane doesn't mean it's anarchy. You still have to be in control of your kid. If your kid is crying because they're a newborn, I have no problem with that. I totally get it. It's probably more embarrassing and uncomfortable for the parent than it is for anybody else. But if you have like a 7 or 8-year-old throwing a temper tantrum,
as far as I'm concerned, like once a kid turns like 4 or 5 until the age of 11, 10 maybe at the least, they should ride with the dogs in the cargo like port. Like they should be put like in the cargo port. Like they're I don't consider them part of the general population. Like put them in a crate and put them in the bottom of the plane.
No, but like what? Like all I'm saying is like I'm empathetic to the kids that can't communicate because they don't have a way of communicating. Once you can talk and
Once
you can
gain
communicate,
sentience, yeah,
you and the kicking of the seat. Like I've turned around before and I've said to the parent, I'm like, can you manage your child, please? Mm-hmm. Like I've been on flights where, and it hasn't happened to me directly, but there have been times where I've been on flights where kids are throwing things at other people. And I'm like, bro, like if that happened to me, the level of anger that would be directed at that person would be
oh my God,
insane. Yeah. And then finally, and this is like my biggest pet peeve, this is no fly list behavior as far as I'm concerned.
Okay. What is it?
The plane lands. The plane lands. Okay? You are on the runway.
Oh, yeah. I know where you're going with this. Oh,
your seatbelt should be what?
Fastened.
Fastened. Should you be taking your suitcase out of the overhead storage bin?
No.
Like I feel okay. Glad we're on the same page here. So, Mike, you've been on an airplane. When the airplane doors open, what is the general procedure of getting off of the aircraft?
You wait for the person in front of you, and then
Correct. You go. So what row goes first?
The first one.
Row 1. Okay.
And so forth.
Right. If you are seated in 36F and you think you are sprinting to the front of the plane to be the first person off, I have stuck my foot out before.
It's just not happening.
So here's the thing. Every so often, and it's rare, every so often, if your current flight's delayed and you're flying into a hub airport, you're flying into Pearson, you're flying into John F. Kennedy, you're flying into O'Hare in Chicago, they'll make an announcement. They'll say, ladies and gentlemen, we are delayed. There are people with connections, like tight connections. Please remain seated to allow those people to deplane and make their connections. Okay, once that happens, I'm usually seated in the first few rows. I'm like, cool, I'll chill because I've been in that position before. I want those people to be able to make their flight. Mm-hmm. Other than that, if you start sprinting to the front of the plane before the door opens, I'm putting my suitcase in the aisle. I'm putting my foot in the aisle. You are not getting off. That is no fly list behavior. You are not allowed to do that. And if that announcement gets made about the delay, and please let these people deplane, and you get in their way because you are so self-important that you think you need to get off with these people, I honestly think they should hold you there and be like, you are now the last person to get off the plane. Like that,
100%.
To me, the lack of self-awareness is insane to me. It's just absolutely insane. I don't understand it. So, airplane etiquette, show up on time, go into the correct line, don't be a disaster at security, control your little child. If they're a baby, you get a free pass. Or even a toddler, you get a free pass. Totally cool. We were all there once. But number 1, if you try and sprint to the front of the plane when the plane lands, as far as I'm concerned, you deserve to be tripped and split your face open because you tripped. Like, no fly list. That to me is like the most egregious airplane nonsense imaginable. And like, this goes without saying, but like, if you start causing a scene and mistreating the stewardess, they should be able to toss you out of the aircraft mid-flight. Like, they honestly, they should just be able to open that door and be like, goodbye. Like,
I'm not sure if you do you know who Peter Schrager is?
yeah.
I love Peter Schrager. He's an NFL commentator, insider, you want to call it. He's well regarded as like one of the nicest guys out there. Like,
Yeah, he's a good dude.
in media. He's one of the nicest people out there. Very jovial. Like, he's always excited about something. He's always very happy. And one of my favorite stories is like he's flying to the Super Bowl and there's this kid and he just turns like, and Peter Schrager like the boy-like joy just turns around to the kid and goes, "Cut the shit." And the kid and then the kid stops. But I'm like, if Peter Schrager, the guy who like, you could punch him in the face and he'd shake your hand and say thanks kind of guy, like is driven to madness by this stuff, then it's a problem.
So I have a question for you because I want your opinion on it. I have mine. Let's say you're sitting in your seat, right? You've paid extra to have your window seat, right? Mm-hmm. Some parent comes and they're like, "Hey, like I didn't pay for like the seat arrangements, but like I have my kid. Can you just move to like this seat so I can sit with my kid?"
My response to that would be, I would say, you have 5 seconds before I remove your head from your body. Get out of my space. So, it is not my fault that you did not plan properly. Leave.
Proper planning prevents piss poor performance.
There you go.
Right?
The P's.
Now, if it is a 3-year-old, a 4-year-old, you know what? I might say, buy me a drink, we'll be good, kind of thing. Or let's say it's a child that has autism or Down syndrome. They need assistance from their parents. I am always going to move, no matter, because at that point, it's about the kid. It's not about the parents' piss poor planning, right? It's about making sure that the kid is comfortable, right? But if you're just like, oh, I just didn't feel like paying and then I want to sit next to my kid in a seat that you paid for, no. There is a lady who has the same opinion we do, and the mother started filming her.
I've seen this,
and she's suing now, and like rightfully so, and it's like, no, you could have paid, it's like an extra $23 to reserve a seat. If $23 isn't worth it to you, then I'm sorry, but you being separated from your kid is not my problem.